Hello, this is just a quick instruction video on what to do for this particular assignment, Keystone Species Graphing. What you're going to see here is this first part talks about grizzly bears. And it talks about why grizzly bears are keystone species, or why they're considered keystone species. So the first thing you have to do is read this, and then just summarize the evidence. So like it says, list evidence that tells how grizzly bears are keystone species. And you got 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So that should be very straightforward. It's just the information from here, and then you write down the evidence down here. Now on the second page, we have a graph and a blank data table. And the graph is talking about the same thing as the first page, which is keystone species in their ecosystem and role of keystone species in ecosystem biodiversity. So this means biodiversity is how many different types of species there are, not what the population is, but different types of creatures. And what you're seeing in the graph is that we have two lines here. One in red says without keystone species, and then the other line in green says with keystone species. And this is the number of species from 0 to 20. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years that are marked on there. And it's showing you something that we talked about earlier in the unit, which is without keystone species, the numbers of species drops really low and usually becomes dominated by one or just a couple species. Now they might have high population numbers, but there's only 1 or 2 different types of creatures. Where with keystone species, the number of species in the environment stays high. And there's all kinds of examples. The grizzly on the front of this was just one of them. So what you're going to do is you're going to be filling in this data table, okay, based on this graph. So we're going to put each of the years up along the top, for instance, 1963. And then I'm going to figure out as best I can what was the number with keystone species. So 1963, I go up. With keystone species, I'd probably say that's, if I go over here, 17. And then number of species without keystone species. So that's the one in red. So I go up 1963 where the red is, follow that over, and I'm going to put 18 there. And you're going to finish that for each of the other years on this chart. All right, thank you very much.